So welcome back again. This is our third business subject, CSEC Economics, that we are looking at today. Right? Yesterday was POB, day for yesterday was POA, but Monday was also POA, Form 4. All right, so we are continuing with the business subjects here. Right now, we are looking at CSEC Economics, Form 4, Form 5, repeaters, adults, right? And we are starting from the basic part of economics. We are starting from the Form 4 syllabus and we are journeying up to the Form 5 syllabus in time for exams, which if you all are doing in Form 5 and you all are doing exams next year, we are aiming to finish the syllabus by next year, please God, before exams, all right? So we are starting from the basic part of economics, as I said. Just a few pointers before we actually do start, like what I did for the other business subjects. I just want to introduce this subject again for those who are new to it. For those who are new, welcome. For those who are in Form 5 and have an idea, well, consider this session, these sessions here as a way for you to now understand and appreciate the different parts of economics, that not just for exams, but when you start working in companies, you know, the economy, you're going to see what you would have learned here in economics everywhere you go, even on the news when they start talking about different parts of the economy, how the economy is doing, you know, you will be familiar with the different terms and concepts and all that they talk about on the news regarding the economy, right? So for CSEC Economics, where you all know we are aiming for we are doing this for the CSEC exam. And what I didn't mention yesterday for POB, just if for those who were there, you know, you have a structured paper, which, you know, they will give you instructions on how to complete the structured paper. That is your paper 2, your paper 1, which is your multiple choice, as well as your SBA. For those who are doing it in school, you know, you will have an SBA to do. And for those who are doing it privately, you all will have a case study, which is your paper 3. So paper 3 basically looks at case studies that you will have to answer, right? I didn't mention as well yesterday that with regards to the exam, POA and POB are offered privately, meaning you can write the exam in January, but for economics, you'll have to wait till May, June to write the exam, okay? So I would suggest by next week as well, you know, I'm going to keep encouraging you guys to look out for when the application for, you know, January exam is taking place. I would encourage you guys to try out the exam. There's nothing to lose because you have another opportunity in the May, June exam. All right. So those are some pointers that you all could consider when you all writing the exam. You can get a feel of it for before the May, June exam. Right? And the last note I just want to draw to your attention, textbook for economics. So the econ textbook that I will recommend as a teacher who have been teaching this subject for the last 7 years is the Edward Bahau textbook. That is CSEC Economics by Edward Bahau. Right, I recommend that textbook because I find that the notes that you get from there, he goes on in depth. I also use other textbooks as well, like the Patricia Gopi textbook. That's another economics textbook. So I basically use different textbooks to merge my notes for you guys, right? You all will be seeing the presentation here on slides, but you will also have access to it, guess where? On YouTube. So even after this class finishes and you all feel that, okay, you missed something, you now have an opportunity to go on YouTube and subscribe. First of all, you could subscribe. like the video, so you will always have it there for future references, right? You don't want to misplace, all these free notes. Yes, I said free notes that you all are basically benefiting out from for this summer program. And I hope that you all will consider doing the subject for the new term, that we journey together. We could get those distinctions. I'm only aiming for distinctions. I always have and always will be aiming for those distinctions from you guys, right? So if you all have any questions or concerns, you all are free to message me via the chat. It is open for you all to ask me any questions at all during the session, right? And I'll see how best I can answer it while we are doing this. Okay, so again, welcome. And we are going to start with what is economics. So we see in here on the slide that economics is a study of how individuals, businesses, governments, and societies as a whole employ resources to satisfy competing wants and needs in light of scarcity. So, whenever I start the first slide of whatever subject, I have to bring back reference to something that we would have done just this week. This was the first week of our free summer program, right? And just yesterday, last night, we did POB, didn't we? For those who were in my POB class last night. And we spoke about scarcity. We spoke about needs and wants. You all can remember that? Just let me hear from you guys if you all remember these terms from last night. Yes. Right? So, like I said, POB and economics, they work really good hand in hand. What you will learn in POB, you'll see it in economics, but in more depth. You will understand it a lot better, I must say, because you're going in detail here in this subject. So, when we are studying the entire economy, because that's how economics came about, is studying the economy. How is the economy doing? How is the economy employing its resources? How are they using it? How are they going to provide these resources to us as consumers, as a population? Are they providing it freely? Are they going to provide it cheaply? Are they going to not provide it at all? What are some of the mechanisms that are being put in place for all consumers to benefit out of these goods and services? How are we satisfying our wants and needs with what the economy is providing to us? And then we have this problem that we have to be mindful of, scarcity. We have this problem here, scarcity, that yes, the economy should be able to provide all that we want and all that we desire, right? But the reality is there is scarcity everywhere, not just the economy of Trinidad and Tobago, but worldwide. There's always some type of scarce resource. You can't get everything, right? So when you're studying this economics subject, right, we have to now appreciate what we have, what we don't have, and how best we can make decisions out of them. Okay, so we have to put some goals in place. We have to know what we should do, what we should not do, what we should produce, what we should not produce, what will waste money, what we need to spend money on, those kind of things. And that is what we are going to be looking at here now. So we have here the economic goals. So a simple diagram that just summarizes all the things that we aiming for as an economy. As an economy, we want economic efficiency, we want economic freedom, economic security, economic equity, and economic growth and innovation. So just at the side of this little diagram here is some notes, some pointers that just explains what economic efficiency is for an economy. And it's basically making the most of our resources without wasting anything, right? We want to make full use of it. We want to utilize all that we have. We don't want any wastage. We want the freedom whereby we'll be able to make choices. We have that option to make choices without government interference and intervention. So we should be free to choose what we want to purchase and what we don't want to purchase, what we want to consume and what we don't want to consume, right? We have that economic freedom. Could you all see this properly here? I know it's just in the corner. I just try to fit it in for you guys to just explain these points. But I could, all right, so you all are seeing it good. Lovely. Right? So, right, so we're speaking about freedom. We want to have that freedom without government interference. But you all will soon realize that yes, we want this, but sometimes government need to really intervene in, excuse my language, the lackadaisical economy that sometimes, you know, you will be seeing, right? So government may have to really intervene. We can't just be free to do whatever we want to do. As much as we want to, we can't. It might be a detriment to the entire economy. So government interference will sometimes step in here. Economic security, knowing that the goods and services will be available when needed, right? We are sure, we are secured that we are being looked after. We don't have to be worried. We want this as a goal in the economy. Economic equity is another goal that we are seeing here, economic equity, where we want to distribute wealth fairly, right? You know, the saying, the rich get rich, the poor just gets poorer. You all ever heard of that saying, right? It's something that, you know, we have to be very mindful of when we're talking about economic equity in a society. And then we talking about economic growth. We want this. This is our goal. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, we have not experienced economic growth yet. I'm saying the word yet because there are chances that we can eventually, right? Hence, you guys are being in this class. You all could be future economists. You all could, you know, put things in place, measures in place to really aim for that economic growth. We are just, as an economy of Trinidad and Tobago, we are still under economic development. We are still developing, but we have not reached growth. So that's where you guys come in, to come and be future economists, to put these goals in place. I'll be looking out for you guys, keeping a log of your names. So when I, in my old age and I'm rocking on a chair or wherever, I should see your names popping up on the news that so-and-so aiming at this goal, right? So these are just a summary of what the economic goals are, right? So if you all have any questions, you all could let me know. If you all want to add in anything, feel free to do so in the chat. So again, we're speaking of goods and services, goods versus services. And again, you all should know this by now because we did it last night in POB. So we say goods and services refer to the products which consumers consume to satisfy their needs and wants. So consumers have basic needs, which include, so I have some dashes there, which I know you all will be able to tell me what you think are your basic needs. What are your basic needs? I'll give all you a hint because for the last time I was talking about one thing, which is food. And I've seen you all, you all are right, typing in food. Yes, food. Yes, we need food. Shelter, very good. And we need, let's see, clothes. Yes, clothing. Natalia, good. Right? So I'm seeing you are giving me those answers. So those are our basic needs. And that could be one of the first questions in your multiple choice paper. Which of the following is not a need? If all your choose food, boy, something wrong, something can't be right, right? So food, clothing, shelter. So you can just make a note of that for those who are new. Economic needs, food, clothing, shelter. Food first, I would say. Okay, so we're continuing. Goods. We're going to look at the definition, which we looked at last night as well, but we're doing it here again. Goods, which are tangible items, which mean that they can physically be touched. For example, a watch, a pen, or a tire for a car. Services are intangible items in that they do not take any physical form, like medical services rendered by a doctor, education services provided by a school. So I'm actually doing a service, right? I am rendering education. I am giving out notes. This is a service I'm providing, right? Banking services provided by a financial institution, right? By the end of the day, is how best you perform that service. That's the question. Was the service exceptional? Or was it just, I'm not going to go back there, right? I've had those experiences, in past jobs, if not any financial institutions, you will have those parts of your career where you know that service is everything. You wanna exhibit that perfect customer experience. You wanna have that great service being rendered to your customers. But at sometimes, services may not be all that. So you have to be very mindful of these things when you start your own business within the economy. All right. So we speak of goods, we speak of services. Now we want to look at needs and wants, because when we're talking about needs and wants, we want everything, we need everything, but we have that economic problem. Again, popping up here on the fifth slide, scarcity. I feel like you're going to be seeing this word for the next few weeks. It's going to keep popping up. You're going to understand why this word just keeps coming up. Why is it that we can't have everything? You're going to understand why, right? So we say a need is something that is necessary for survival, and a want is a desire, but is not essential to survival. So I sigh because food is a want for me and a need. I need food to survive, but sometimes I might go a little extravagant, right? So a want, it is not essential for survival, but I disagree. You need food, right? So don't mind me, you guys. Yes, yes, I've seen some people agreeing with me. Good, I love that you all have my back on this, right? So we are moving on. So you're okay with this? So when we are looking at economics, so because economics is a subject that requires you all to now understand what's happening in the economy, you being future economists, and yes, I am declaring that you all are going to either be future accountants, future economists, because I mean, we're not doing the science subject, so you have to fall into some kind of business category. So it could be accountant, managers, or economists. You all are going to look at different parts of the economy, and there are two main branches in the economy. So I'm going to ask you guys, do you all know of okay, sorry. Laura, I know you're also doing science subjects. So I know some of you all who are doing businesses and science. So good job, you guys. Good job. I'm happy for you all. I wish you all the best. I didn't have an opportunity, but for those who have the opportunity, seize that opportunity. All right. So as I was saying, the two main branches of economics, we have what are the two main branches in an economy that you will see? We have individual businesses, and also we have larger organizations. So we have individual firms and we have large organizations. Yeah. Do you all know? So I'm going to put in the next slide for you all to see what I'm talking about. We have two branches of economics. We have microeconomics and macroeconomics. So I want you to just take some time and just read what this slide is saying. I'm going to talk about it in a bit. So just take a read of what this slide is saying. So by looking at this, so far I show you all what I've read in micro. Think of individuals, think of small firms within the economy. Whereas with macroeconomics, it looks at the entire economy on the whole. So the factors like aggregates, we're going to concentrate on all of the totals, all that is happening in the economy, as opposed to the micro that only looks at individual parts of the economy. And macro, they look at the bigger picture of the economy. So this is just food for thought. Sometimes in the exam, they may ask you to differentiate between the two, micro and macroeconomics. Very simple 4 marks that you can get in that exam and in your multiple choice as well. So this is like the 7th slide, and we are seeing again scarcity and the factors of production. So we are again talking about scarcity, where, we are not going to be privileged at all times to get everything that we want. Even though as much as we desire it, it is not always going to be something that we can get. Hence, this term scarcity comes back up where, because our resources are limited and we have unlimited ones, is why we have scarcity. And it can be temporary or long term, right? Scarcity is brought about by wars, famine, flood, fires, etc. Right? So some areas of Trinidad, I'm seeing a pipe with this bird. It first looked like fire on the pipe, but it's actually a bird if you look closer to it. Because water is sometimes very scarce in some areas, you may be saying, okay, WAS is not doing their job, but think of the reservoirs that accumulating water for us, it may be very scarce, right? So consider all of these that is actually happening now, presently, in this economy. All right. So please, when you all get some time after this class, go back through these slides. I'm going to reiterate again, all this will be recorded. It is being recorded and it is going to be posted up for you guys later on. So we have shortages. Shortages is where goods and services is unavailable, right? So this is just another definition that you all should note. So we have scarcity and we have shortages. Do you all think they are the same? Do you all think scarcity and shortages are the same? Let me get some feedback. So I'm seeing some yeses, I'm seeing some no's. So while scarcity is where we have unlimited human wants, when we have a shortage, is because probably the resources just not there. So we could actually say they are the same, right? We can't say that. And also at a lesser extent, we could say they are not the same because a shortage could mean that we may never get it. It may be unavailable forever. Where scarcity, we say could be either short-term or long-term, but not forever, right? So just some food for thought. You all could ponder upon it at your own time. And next class, if you all have anything to add, you all are free to do so. Right? So we did not look at this last night in POB, but you all will soon. Did we? Nature of business. So we may have touched on these topics, the same topic on factors of production last night, but we are looking at it again, which are the 4 factors of production. And it's a very popular topic that you will see in exam. There's not one question that's, well, you will see that you're not going to see this question. Something about this question is going to pop up, whether it be in POB or economics or even in POA, right? So be thankful that all these business subjects are being linked together. So the 4 factors of production, we have here land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurs. And yes, we did this last night. Thank you for reminding me. Land, which is all the natural resources to make the good or service. It includes plots of land, natural resources, fishes in the sea, and trees in the forest. Labor, which looks at the effort that people devote to a task for which they are paid. Capital, which is any human-made resource that is used to create other goods and services. Like, for example, factories and machinery. An entrepreneur, we say that they are those who run the business. They are the ones who are in charge of all the other factors of production. So for those who are asking me on the chat, you know, with the entrepreneurs, just think of the entrepreneur as the person, as the owner of the business who is going to look at all these. He or she is going to consider land, labor, and capital. Sorry, guys, that's my bad. Yes, I don't know what that was. Oh, the clock. Sorry. Like the clock is trying to tell me, hey, it's time to get a new one. Yes, thanks. Yes. So I'm back with you guys. That kind of started, I'm sure, some of you guys, but we good. It was my clock that actually right? So we want to consider an entrepreneur owning and controlling land, labor, as well as capital. All right. So when they incorporate these different factors of production, they will be able to operate something called the enterprise. So we did that last night as well in POB, right? So the enterprise is the business. The entrepreneur deals with all the activities that will take place in the business. So you all okay with this, right? So even though after this summer program has ended, you all know that we are going to be recapping all of this again for the new term, September, right? Whereby you will be able to ask more questions and understand even better if you all don't have any questions, understand a lot better what these factors of production is. But, you know, as I said, with economics, you know, we're going a little bit more in depth. So we speak of factors of production in POB, but what we didn't talk about in POB, which we are going to see in economics, is the factor rewards. So factor rewards is referred to as the benefits or income that is generated when we employ the various factors of production. So let me explain what this slide is going to tell us. When we incorporate the different factors of production, land, labor, capital, and enterprise, we are going to get rewards when we employ these different factors of production. So when we employ land, when we have land, what can we do with it? What kind of income can we get? What kind of reward can we get from land? We can get rent. We can rent out land. We can build something on a land, a piece of land, and rent it out. When you have laborers in a business, what do you think they're going to get? They're going to get a wage, an income. When we have capital, capital is like when you, let's say, invest your money, your asset, let's say your motor vehicle or whatever it may be. Just looking at the chart, yeah. Capital will be able to give us some type of interest when we employ it within the business. And lastly, enterprise being the business. What is the reward for having a business? Profits. Right? So are you all okay with this slide? I know this is not, we didn't do this in POB, but are you all okay with this here in economics? Yes? Okay, great. So moving on. So I know this might be a little small. So before I even get to the expansion, we're going to look at the definition here of an economy. And we say an economy is where we have available resources to meet society's needs and wants. And there are 4 different types of economies. And we are going to see this in POB as well. We just didn't reach that part of POB syllabus. So heads up for those who are doing POB, we have 4 types of economies. We have traditional, the free market economies, planned, also called the command economies, as well as the mixed economies. Okay. So we're going to get all the theory out the way because soon you all will be needing to invest in pencils or a pencil with many points and a ruler because we'll be looking at some diagrams after this topic. So appreciate the theory now, you guys, and we will be looking at some diagrams in a bit. So we looking at the traditional economy. So let me just read what the traditional economies is saying. So in a traditional economy, traditions, customs, and beliefs help shape the goods and the services the economy produces, as well as the rules and manner of their distribution. Countries that use this type of economic systems are often rural and farm-based. So basically, traditional economies were the first type of people who would just put things in place just to survive. They're not aiming for any kind of profit. They just want to survive. They want to shape the economy. They have no set of strict rules and regulations. They are rural based and farm based. So they plant their crops, they reap it, they use that to just survive. So hence the term traditional economies. And the second economy is the free market economies, where we have the freedom of choice and the freedom of production of everyone in this economy. We are allowed to do whatever we please to do, right? So with free market economies, they are owned by individuals and businesses, and the individuals answer 3 basic economic questions, which we will look at in a bit. we have the planned or the command economies, where government alone makes all the decisions in the economy. So while the free market, anybody is free to do whatever they may want, there's no intervention by the government. With the planned economy, we have government intervention. Like Cuba and North Korea, they are some examples of command economies. They are guided strictly by the government. No consumer, no producer, no private entity could tell the government what to do. Whereas with the free, we can do whatever we please to do, whatever we want to produce, whatever we want to sell. That is the benefit of having the free market economy. And then we have this last one, the mixed economy. And when we hear the mixed economy, it's now a combination of the free market and the planned economy. So it's an economic system that is being operated by private individuals, which is in the free market, and partly made by the government, which is the planned economy. So mixed is with free market and the planned. Planned economy is just the government. Free market deals with private entities, only private individuals, no government intervention. No government intervention in the free market, government intervention in the planned. Are you all okay with this? Yes? Okay. So we're moving on, and we are almost through the theory. I know you're all ready to draw some diagrams, but I just want to, after this session here of all the theory work, you all will appreciate why the theory part was so important. Okay, so let me just get over the economies here. So we have to appreciate what the traditional economies used to do, right? So advantages and disadvantages. So think of survival of the fittest. You know, you have that saying. How did they even operate? How were there some advantages? Were there some disadvantages that they experienced? Yes, and that's what we are looking at here now. So each family is aware of their respective role in sustaining the economy, right? So that's an advantage of the traditional. Leaders are impartial in distribution of food, shelter, and health care. So the traditional, they know what they have to do. They want to survive. So they're going to put things in order to ensure survival. Whereas disadvantage, what we are seeing here, is the disadvantages. Not usually receptive to the introduction of new technology, because they look at rural and farm-based type of economic activity. They don't really know what technology is. They don't know how to operate it. They might have basic type of technology, but it may not be as advanced as what we know now. So they are not receptive to the introduction of new technology. They don't know how to operate these new technology. So that's the traditional economies. You all okay with this? If I see anything too complicated, I will just point it out. If you all see anything as well, please let me know. So remind me, what is free market again? What are they? Who are they? What do they do? Are they governed by the government alone? What is the free market again? Yes, the free market has no government intervention. So if there's no government intervention, then they function freely, and firms and sectors of the economy are not obligated to coordinate the plans in line with government economic decisions. So government, nowhere in the free market. They're not here, right? Companies are able to easily respond to day-to-day changes in demand and supply without having to adhere to too much government protocol. Freedom, yes, Laura, very good. Freedom of choice. we have that private entities are being seen in the free market economy. So free market, no government. They look at the well-being and they find their own jobs, negotiate salaries. They come together to basically work coherently with each other. But, for every advantage, there have to be some kind of disadvantage, right? So while they might have free people doing whatever they please to do, guess what? Instability will take place. Lack of job security, because sometimes businesses will not be able to produce efficiently. You might think that they're free to do whatever, but they have to have some kind of control. If you're free to do whatever, I won't want to list the examples here, like verbal, but you're free to do whatever. You think there will be any control? Would we have some kind of discipline to know when to stop? No, right? So with the free market, you're going to see some disadvantages. And the main one, which is this first point, is that because we have private entities, think of private entities versus public entities. Private entities is all about getting money. Private hospitals, you think I can walk into a private hospital and I'll get good health care or somewhat good health care, but at a cost. Whereas with the public sector, which is public, you'll be able to get free health care. So the disadvantage of free markets, the population may not get the best food, shelter, healthcare, which will result in the development of a class structure and poverty, right? So poverty tends to take place when we have, private entities. When we have private entities, some people may not afford the healthcare system, food, or shelter. Okay? Yes, crime can also take place within the free market economy. Just looking at your chat here, your questions. The next economy, which is the planned or the command economy. So remember what this one says again? There is no government intervention or there is government intervention. Command. Think of the word command. Who is commanding you? The government. The government has the sole decision on making all the choices, every single thing in the economy. There is no freedom of choice, no freedom at all from consumers. But let's look at the advantages. When the government has the ability to now control the economy, there will be equality. Well, there should be equality as the government seeks to distribute all resources impartially, whether it is be properties, jobs, income, social services such as healthcare, education, there's public education, resulting in everybody belonging to the same social class. No one will be segregated. Nobody will not be able to benefit out of a proper education. There are public schools governed by government, which is under the command economies, right? The ability to direct a nation's resources in line with national goals. Now, as I said, at the first set of slides, we look at the economic goals, and we want to be able to utilize all our resources efficiently and effectively. We don't want any wastages. With government intervention, they tend to make sure and ensure that our resources are in line with the goals of the economy, that there will not be any wastage of resources, right? Economy is usually stable, with the economy not subjected to high unemployment and inflation rates. So because we have this being an advantage, we don't have to really, during COVID times, you think it was private entities paying us. What was that fund? Boy, I'm trying to remember. Oh Lord, it was just there. Like all those who would have lost their jobs due to COVID, they had a relief program whereby they were, for those who applied for grants during their times of unemployment, you know, you think it was the private entities who did that? No, it was the government. Yes, thank you, Daryl. That is what I was trying to get. The COVID Relief Fund. Yes. So we had that program in Trinidad where, the government will obviously take your account number. They will obviously want proof that you were employed before COVID. And they were able to try to help stabilize the economy during this pandemic. And probably still going on now. I don't know the status of it, but that is what their aims were, right? Even if you're unemployed, there's inflation rates, they create grants for those who cannot afford, the basic necessities, right? But the disadvantages here, again, because it's just command, only government, there's little, sometimes no freedom of choice, as people are not allowed to choose where to seek employment, purchase goods or services. Quality may be compromised because, if you compare a private hospital to a public hospital, you will see quality. You will see quality being a factor that differentiates both the private as well as the public sector. Well, private hospital, public hospital, right? So quality might be compromised because of that. And the last economy, which is the mixed economy, we have some of the advantages here, where with the mixed economy, you have the private entities as well as government coming together. They both making decisions within the economy. There's going to be social, political, business ownership, and profit earning freedoms. There will be higher quality products and services being offered, whereby we'll be able to make a choice as to, are we going to stick with the public? Are we going to stick with the private? Are we going to just do both? We have that choice. So higher quality is going to be offered. The public and private sector in most cases work in tandem to ultimately increase the production of the country's region. So again, I'm just speeding up a little bit here because we are actually going to look at the economic problems, the questions that we have to ask ourselves to solve the scarcity problem. So I'm just going to speed up this part here. The disadvantage of the mixed economy. Well, the government is in some case very influential in the economy, engineering policies which alter interest rates, taxes, and the money supply in an effort to achieve its targets. So that basically means because the government have a huge influence on the economy, private entities may not be able to compete with what the government has to offer or what the government stipulates as a law, right? We are stipulated by rules, regulations, law on the whole, but then the government may override these private entities. In some countries, the economy is driven by the private sector, with them being responsible for the overall growth of the economy. At times, instability may occur, unemployment can occur as well. We are a mixed economy. Trinidad is a mixed economy, and we tend to still see unemployment, inflation, recession, even though private and public entities come together, working hand in hand to provide the greater good for us, but yet we have these problems. Some sectors in the economy operate as a monopoly, whereby they run privately or only by the government. So you're not seeing any other water companies in Trinidad. WAS is the only one. So if your water coming out in a certain way or not even coming out at all, then understand that we are in a mixed economy. We have no more water companies in Trinidad. WAS is a monopoly. A monopoly is a sole producer of a good or service. And because we are in a mixed economy, water is the only water providers. We have to basically take what we get in layman terms, right? Inverted commas, right? So this is just some of the disadvantages that you will see with a mixed economic system. So please, you guys, after the end of this class, I hope you all will, after the class finishes in about an hour time after, please go up on the YouTube website and get the recordings, save them, like them, keep it there, subscribe, right? So you all will always have access to this, because this is a question that always comes for the exam, right? In both papers, in every subject area, POA, POB, economics, right? So it's very important that you all note it. Yeah. Okay, good. So moving on. Sorry, let me just take this off. Good. So you remember when I said how I'm going to come back to the basic economic questions. So when there's scarcity, we have to ask each other, not physically asking each other this question, but we have to ask ourselves, what goods and services will we produce? So we have to ask, should we produce this or should we produce that? What should we produce? We can't produce everything. We have to make a choice. So what are we going to produce? How would these goods and services be produced? So are we going to utilize machinery? Are we going to utilize the laborers? How are we going to produce this? We can't have both. We have limited resources, which is money. So which one? How are we going to produce it? And for whom to produce? Who are we going to produce these goods and services for? We don't want to waste the resources. So you now as the individual have to decide, all right, consumers need this, but they want this. We want to satisfy their need first, then their want. So for whom to produce is another important question that you have to ask with that economic problem of scarcity. All right. So the relationship between scarcity and choice. So the recurring theme that makes a problem an economic one is the problem of scarcity. All the factors of production, which is the land, labor, capital, and enterprise, are all limited. It is this lack of what is available relative to that wanted that leads to the reality of us making choices. So we are going now into this whole choice scenario. So again, we have to make choices because of scarcity. We can't have everything again. So we have to make these choices because of our limited resources, right? So while we have these limited resources, our wants tend to be unlimited. It's never ending. Oh, by the way, another term for scarcity, I put it here on the slide for you guys to note, because chances are they could put this in the exam. You know, what is paucity? And you'd be like, what? What's paucity? Paucity is another word for scarcity. All right, so that's a term that you all can write in your notebooks. You all can have it there. Just in the event that they bring it for the paper 1 or the paper 2, or even in the case study, you know what it is. So because we are going back to this, resources tend to be limited. Wants tend to be unlimited, which we create this whole problem of scarcity. We have to make choices. And when we make this choice, we are going to come across a new term tonight called opportunity cost. So I'm actually excited now because we're actually getting somewhere with economics when we start that whole term of opportunity cost. Are you all familiar with it? Have you ever heard of this term before? Opportunity cost. It is not a common sense definition. So is a cost as I know you like to answer it like that. It's a cost, it's like a cost as like opportunity. No, it's not that common sense type of answer, right? So it's a new term that you all are going to see here, which is basically the intro to what you're going to come across in economics. So let me see what it is. All right, so this is just a little diagram here that I just summarized in point 4. We have resources being limited, wants unlimited, scarcity, at least a scarcity. We have to make choices. And when we make a choice, we have opportunity cost. So if anybody wants to try giving me an answer, I know some of you are excited, you're hearing the term opportunity cost. I wonder if I should have this, if anybody wants to give the answer, you can raise your hand and I could unmute you so you could actually give me a feedback on what is opportunity cost. Any brave souls out here to give me an answer? I know you're saying, yes, we know opportunity cost. We know it. Anybody want to try? Okay, so I'm seeing it in the chat. So opportunity cost is the next best alternative for gone, good, and some of the Form 4s might be asking, but what is this? So let's really break it down now, right? So trade-offs, we say it's alternatives that we sacrifice when we make a decision. Opportunity cost is the most desirable alternative given up as a result of a decision. It is an opportunity cost. So for example, if you buy a Big Mac combo, you kind of go buy a chicken McNugget combo. And I might ask myself, but I want the both. I want food. I love anything with nuggets, right? Big Mac combo. Yes, I want the both. But when I check my pocket, my purse, I only have $25. So guess what? I have to make a choice. So I'm going to make a choice. All right. I am buying the Big Mac combo, not because it's just a combo, but it's a Big Mac than just buying a chicken nugget, right? Big Mac have fries and drinks and everything in it. So what's happening here is that because I'm choosing the Big Mac combo, I'm giving up the chicken McNugget combo. I am giving that up. That is the opportunity cost. I give up the chicken McNugget combo because I chose the Big Mac. So the opportunity cost, the chicken McNugget combo, right? As much as we want it both, we have to choose because of scarcity. Sorry, you make me laugh. Sorry, you guys. But don't worry, you all will understand. You all will understand. The next I should summarize it a lot better for you guys. So opportunity cost refers to what has to be foregone in order to obtain something else. This is encountered when economic choices are made. I'm just repeating that sentence again, or those two sentences. The opportunity cost refers to what has to be foregone in order to obtain something else. This is encountered when economic choices are made. So for example, another example here, when a person decides to buy an audio CD for $25, the opportunity cost is the next best alternative of what could be bought with the money. This could be a new t-shirt, which costs the same amount of money. So I have $25 in my pocket right now. I have the choice between an audio CD and a t-shirt. I say, you know what, because I love music, I'm going to buy the audio CD. I buy the audio CD for $25, even though I wanted the t-shirt as well, but I purchased the audio CD. My opportunity cost will be the t-shirt. Opportunity cost is what you give up. Opportunity cost is what you give up. I'm giving up the new t-shirt. All right. By the way, audio CDs. We could just download it. All right. Sorry, you guys are going off track again. But audio CDs, you're buying that. You're taking that for $25. All right. T-shirt. Goodbye. We don't need you. That's the opportunity cost. Right. So that is what we mean by opportunity cost. Right. So just asking, you all understand? Like Laura, you guys, you all understand? Okay. All right, so good. Let's look at the next slide. So, you know, when we talk about opportunity costs, now this whole topic of economics that we are doing tonight looks at the nature of economics and the production possibility curve. This is our topic. This is what we're starting off econ with. The nature of economics, we looked at that just now. We now understand, all right, economics is about we having scarce resources. We scarce resources in an economy. How best are we going to utilize what we have? How are we going to make the choice? What are we going to give up? We just looked at that. And all that we just looked at can now be illustrated through a diagram called the PPC, the production possibility curve. Have you heard of it? Yes? No? Yes? All right. So some yeses, some no's. We're still getting them done here, right? So the PPC is a graphical representation of the maximum level of output of two types of products that can be produced with a country's existing resources and state of technology. All right. So yes, it's a graphical representation of just two types of products. You think the economy could only produce two types of products? All right, they're saying so. We have two types of products within the economy, and we're going to represent it here in a diagram. We're going to show opportunity cost in the diagram. When we first look at these assumptions. So because we have to assume right? Because we have to assume certain things for the production possibility curve, we have to try to understand now that these are our limitations with what we are going to draw. So I'm going to explain that in a bit, but what I'm just saying. But first of all, let's just look at these assumptions of the PPC. So again, the PPC is showing the maximum amount of goods and services that can be produced with a country's existing resources. But we have to make assumptions to draw this diagram. So the first assumption is only two products can be produced. That can never be so. But we have to make this assumption to actually illustrate what we are trying to say. We're making this assumption. We want to show it, but it's not really happening. But we're going to assume that it is happening. If you all understand, if I didn't lose you guys. So we're just making these assumptions. We know that two products cannot be produced within the economy. For example, doubles and pizza. We can't just assume doubles and pizza is just the only two food items. I mean, oh God, it have KFC, it have wings, it have all kind of things, it have gyros. So we make this assumption just to show how scarcity can be shown on a diagram. All right. So that's one. The second assumption is resources available are fixed. Resources available should always be variable. You must have a varying level of resources within the economy. So again, another assumption. State of technology is constant, but technology could advance. But we have to make this assumption to show how scarcity can be shown on a diagram. And there's mobility in the factors of production. You ever see somebody moving land before? Anybody? Mobility. Mobility means moving, right? Factors of production. Land is one of them. You think I can move my land here easily? I mean, don't answer that question, you guys. Right? So we have to make these assumptions, right? I sure I'm gonna get some. I know I'm gonna get some crazy answers on this chatter. I know, unless I'm Hulk, yeah, I can move land. Good. I like that one. Right? So we have to make these assumptions in order to now derive this PPC diagram. All right. So we're going to see how we can actually draw this here now. Let's go. So this is the diagram showing efficient and inefficient allocation of resources. In other words, diagram showing the PPC. We drew this diagram from these assumptions. Two products being produced. What are the two products? Pizza and sugar. Forget sugar. Pizza, right? Pizza and sugar are the two products being produced in this economy. So you're assuming, all right? And we have some points here on this PPC, right? A, B, C, D, and E. If you could see it, if it's not too small. Right. So the production possibility curve. Now, this is our first diagram in economics. When you all actually journeying with me for the new term, you know, you all may obviously see this diagram. Obviously, you all will see this diagram again. But this time, you know, you're going to understand that this being the first diagram of economics, you're going to appreciate now all the other diagrams that comes right after this diagram. This is our intro, the first welcome to economics diagram. We have these points being illustrated on this diagram. And these points are going to give you marks in the exam. Once you draw it accurately, like what you're seeing on the slide here now, you have your axes being labeled. You have your, okay, so I feel that. So the horizontal is the x-axis or the y-axis? Can't remember. Oh my God, why did I even ask that question? The horizontal axis, somebody who's doing maths, x-axis. Thank you, Natalia and Tristan, right? Don't let all the math teacher come and tell me, but Crystal, who telling me that this is the x-axis? I'm believing you guys that the horizontal axis is the x-axis, which is the production of sugar, and then the production of pizza. You're getting a mark for just doing labeling your axes. Good. Your PPC is a concave diagram. So you have to draw this curve and you will label it PPC. This is our PPC curve. That's another mark. These points here now gives us a story of this PPC. You label them, you get another mark. You get a mark for putting the origin. This is supposed to be a 0, by the way, right? Not a circle, but a 0, right? This is another mark that you get. Have your origin, right? Sorry. Oh, shucks. Just give me a second, guys. And then I am actually missing 1 mark here. So me being an examiner, correcting this, there's a mark missing. So even though I drew the diagram accurately, I have the axes, I have the origin, I have the concave curve, what do you think is missing? The label. What is this diagram about? Very good, John Diaz, right? You have to have a label. Diagram showing the production possibility curve. That is how you get all your marks in exam for economics. And trust me, examiners and economics, they look at every point on your diagram, making sure that it is correctly placed. You have to label it, and now we are going to explain it to the point. So you all have this, you all can take a picture if you all want, but just note A, B, C are efficient and attainable resources. E is attainable but inefficient, and E is unattainable. So because we have this here, we can actually make an assumption that, all right, if A, B, and C is efficient and attainable, part D, which is inside the PPC, is attainable, we could get it, but we're not fully utilizing it, it being wasted. It's there, it is here for us, but it's inefficient. And then we have E, which is unattainable. If I have to ask you guys where scarcity is, where would you all say? A, B, C, D, or E? Where is scarcity? Lovely. Lovely. Great. See your answers as E. E is unattainable, which is scarcity. E as in egg, right? That is our unattainable resource. It is scarce. We have A, we have B, we have C, we also have D, but we're not making full use of it. We just letting it waste. But we don't have E. This is our scarce resource. So what I just said is just right now in pointers on the next slide, where you all could just take a read that this production possibility curve, or also called the production possibility frontier, PPF, so it can either be PPC, which is production possibility curve, PPF, production possibility frontier, illustrates the most that can be produced, right? All right. So point A, B, C, and D, we say is attainable, but A, B, and C represents maximum use of resources. Good, we know this. Point D, you know where point D was, right? Point D is inside the PPC. Oh, shucks. Right. Point D shows inefficiency since the economy is operating within the PPC, which means that they are not utilizing all the resources of the economy. So what's happening here is that there's idle resources. Idle resources, wasteful, it's here, you're looking at it, you're seeing it, but you ain't doing nothing with it. That is our point D of the PPC. Point E, which we saw it to be outside, it is outside the scope of production, and therefore such a combination cannot be attained due to lack of sufficient resources. That long sentence just summarized one word: scarcity. All right. Right? So you are seeing what's happening here with this PPC. Right, so I'm just going back for those who just want to just take a look at it again. This is our slide. D cannot be scarcity because think of this as our belly. Sorry, you guys, I just, it's like, it just kind of making sense. Not because I'm thinking about food again, but think of this as our belly. We reach our maximum level here. And within the maximum level, we have point D. Point D is not a scarce resource because it's already in our belly. But because we're greedy and we want more food, we want E, but we just we can't stretch it. We can't stretch the belly for E. All right, so guys, I'm gonna stop talking about this whole belly thing because it's making me laugh now and not concentrate. So just note that this PPC scarcity is outside of the curve. All right. So for those who were asking via the chat, you all understand why D cannot be scarcity? Lovely. So we can move on. All right. So we have the explanation here. And now we're looking at the PPC showing choice. Choice, because we have scarce resources, we have to make a choice. So this PPC illustrates the whole concept of choice. Since the consumer now can choose between A, B, C, or even D. They can choose more pizza. They can choose pizza and sugar. They can choose just sugar, or they can choose D, which is probably something that doesn't have anything to do with pizza and sugar, but it symbolizes something with sugar, something. They can choose inside the PPC as well. So this PPC showing choice illustrates the whole concept of choice as shown in this diagram, since the consumer can choose any combination on or between the PPC. This PPC, on the other hand, shows opportunity cost. And according to this PPC, if the economy wants to produce more pizza, right? So let's say they want to produce more pizza, which is at P2. You'll see in P2, P2 is over here. So they consume more pizza. They will have to give up some sugar because we can't have the both. If they had the both, then these curves could have been pizza and sugar, but we have to choose. And when we made the choice of pizza, we have to give up some sugar. So in this case, the opportunity cost of producing more pizza is going to be shown in this area because we gave up the sugar. You want to produce more pizza, but this had to be a real healthy pizza, by the way. No sugar. Hold on. Right. We are producing more pizza. We give up sugar. This will be our opportunity cost. Yes, we're sacrificing sugar. We're trying to be healthy. All right, you guys? You're okay with this so far? All right. So I'm watching my time right now, you guys. And I'm sure you all are starting to feel hungry because we're talking about food probably for this entire class so far. Yes. I want to just look at this last slide. This last slide here, which shows the reasons why the PPC would shift outwards. So first of all, if you could notice this diagram, I'm going to just highlight this diagram here. I am changing, I'm moving away from food, and I'm putting some new axes here. Not because when we're talking about increase, we have to label it like this, but I'm just incorporating other examples on how to draw the PPC. I'm just incorporating other examples. So you can label your axes: producer goods, consumer goods. So anybody ever heard of these terms before, producer goods and consumer goods? All right, so this is the last slide. I just want to just wrap up this last part here before class finish. A consumer good, just hearing the term, I mean, oh gosh, common sense. Let me hear some common sense answers. Yes, what are consumer goods? Goods for, I know all you have common sense, you know. I know you all students, I know how you all think. Goods for consumers, yes. LOL. Correct indeed. So consumer goods, if you have to write it for the exam, you're not going to say goods for the consumer, but you have an idea that it is for the consumer, yes. So consumer goods, just give me a second. I didn't have it here. Right. So consumer goods is all the goods that the consumers will obviously purchase as well as use. Producer goods, it refers to the goods that will assist in the production. So producer goods, think of equipment, think of machinery, right? So we say consumer goods, these are the goods that the consumers will consume directly, whereas producer goods are things like machinery, equipments that will aid in the production of other goods and services. So if the production of capital goods, which is also called producer goods, which is also called, so it's producer goods, capital goods, we also call it producer capital. If the other term comes to me, I will tell you all, just can't remember it right at this moment. But if you see these terms, know that if the production of more producer goods take place, what's going to happen is that the PPC would shift outwards. So this was our initial PPC. And it just so happened that we could increase our resources. We have established more, well, we discover more resources. And because we discover more resources, capital goods add to the productivity of the country. And the country should always, at all times, strive to select a combination that gives more capital goods and less consumer goods. Without capital goods, you will not have any consumer goods. So this is just another example of how to do the PPC, showing it shifting outwards. So what I want to do at this moment, I know class is basically to the end, I did not look at this. So you know what I want you all to do for your homework? For your homework, I took all this slide. I'm sure you all are going to go on YouTube, yes. And you're going to probably get the answer to the homework question, but review this session again. Obviously like it, share it, subscribe to it. And I want you all to give me some answers come next week, please God. What else would make that PPC increase outwards or move outwards? That is what I want you all to consider during now until next week. Please God, I have you guys. That's your homework question. So what are some of the reasons that will cause the PPC to shift outwards? All right. So you guys, that is the end of today's session. Thank you so very much for joining in. It was really a delicious, but yet exciting class. Enjoy your dinner, and I will see you guys next week, please God, for POA. Have a good night, everyone, and a safe weekend. Bye.